Hello! Hello, hello! Welcome to my channel. My name is Sage, and today we're going to be doing two things. We're going to be ignoring how messy my hair is, and we're going to be deep diving into the nitty-gritty of shadow work. So if you've been wondering what the hell everyone's talking about when they say shadow work or integrating the shadow, I've got you covered. Or maybe you know a little bit more about the shadow and you're just looking for some exercises to do the work, we're in the right place. But first, if you are interested in seeing more videos like this or videos about the engineering of happiness and living the life that you want to live, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below and make sure you hit the bell so that you get notified every week when I come out with a new video. First off, what the heck is shadow work? Shadow work is the unifying of the self. It's been practiced in many different cultures for a long time, but it was kind of brought to the Western mainstream through Carl Jung. Every spiritual practitioner babe's fave psychoanalyst, he was really into symbology, astrology, dream analysis, all of that stuff. For a clinical psychologist, the dude could hang. The shadow, essentially, is the parts of ourself that we reject. Parts of ourselves that we are not aware of or we've repressed into our subconscious mind. Jung contended that the shadow was born in childhood through interactions with our caregivers and the values that we were inundated with at that time. So let's say you are a young lad and your person that you rely on for love, and love therefore equals care, which when you're small equals survival. That person tells you that you are not allowed to like the color pink because pink is for the girls and the gays, and God forbid any of their sons turn out to be anything less than a real man TM. You are going to absorb that really innocuous preference for the color pink as shameful. And that's really going to fuck you up because that shaming results in a revoking of that love, which could theoretically put your survival at risk, right? So your brain does its cool thing where it adapts for survival and for social acceptance, and you grow up with this really strict idea of masculinity. You're going to despise, disrespect, and disregard anything that you deem feminine because you perceive it as something that is the exact opposite of who you are and who you're supposed to be. So as you can imagine, this poor, imaginary, and yet all too familiar character is going to suffer some major problems as they grow into themselves. So that is the birth of the shadow for Jung. I personally believe that the shadow can be born really at any time. It can come from multiple different places because we are constantly living our life. Like, the experience of living does not end in childhood. I believe that the shadow can also be born from any traumatic experiences that we suffer, any kind of negative relationships that we have, and even just navigating social interactions, right? As a kid, teenager, and an adult, like our entire lives, okay? It's born in our very human need for survival and our need to be loved. Shadow then is both the unconscious conditioning from our family, from our culture, as well as parts of ourselves that we unconsciously repress, or the ways we police ourselves to be liked. It's a lot of things. If this is making sense, please let me know in the comments below. I feel like I'm one of those people that finds connections in everything, and so brevity is not necessarily my forte, but we are here, we are doing the thing. How do we identify the shadow in ourselves? The shadow itself does not exist outside of us, right? So we are already whole. We've just created a division between the conscious self and the unconscious self, right? But it's all a part of us. It is all the same thing. And so no matter what, we're going to be attracting things and people and situations that are reflecting us. And this is the easiest way to spot the shadow, right? So like if you have like jealousy issues, okay, you can bet your bottom dollar that you are going to continue attracting people that give you cause to feel jealous, and you are going to curse your mother and the moon and everyone in between for your terrible luck when it comes to dating, or you're going to see like everywhere you look, everyone's bitter and jealous. Instead of just accepting that people are jealous and moving on, that becomes an irritant for you. And that is where you find the shadow. The shadow lives in the irritant. Now, I want to make a quick note here though. Not every trait that you dislike in someone, it means that you're secretly harboring that specific trait within you, right? Okay, so we out here living our lives with our unique personalities, our individual experiences, likes and dislikes. There's also a lot of things that happen in the world, major injustices that are going to elicit an emotional response no matter what. For example, you disliking people harming animals doesn't mean that you secretly want to hurt animals yourself, right? When something like jealousy or laziness becomes an irritant for you, when it seems like everywhere you look, people are lazy or selfish or judgmental, right? And you're just completely overwhelmed by that, that's when it's time to step into the work and ask yourself, where might that trait exist within me? Or why is this bothering me so much? Or like, why might I keep attracting the same pattern into my life? It's probably not that you also want to hurt animals unconsciously. But actually, if animal cruelty, for example, has affected you so deeply that you've become vegan, okay, that might be a part of your shadow that feels like it's been taken advantage of. So your unconscious is compelling you to prevent harm to innocent creatures, okay? And that's just an example, but just because the shadow reflects the part of ourselves that we reject doesn't mean it's always about our deep creepies. Now, the shadow hides our habits, in our addictions, in our patterns, and the people we attract and the things that, you know, make us uncomfortable, sure. But the shadow also hides in the people that we admire and the things that impress us the most, right? So, have you ever said to someone like, oh my god, you are so good at drawing, like, I wish I could do that, or something similar, right? If you have, that is a part of yourself that is just begging to become conscious. We don't miss or pine or admire things that we don't already have within us. So shadow work is a process of reflection and integration. The first step is identifying all of the beautiful ugly within us, and that's kind of what we did earlier in this video. It's identifying our patterns, our addictions, our triggers, it's putting a finger on the problem. And then the next step, the next reflection part of that, is getting to the root of it. It's not enough to just say, wow, I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling jealous, or yeah, maybe there's something really weird with my relationship to food. You have to get to the root of the problem to find the power, okay? You have to figure out the why. Then, once we have identified our patterns and found the why, we can begin integration. The first step of integrating the shadow is accepting it without judgment. This is super important because the shadow is born from judgment, right? It's born from critique. So when you can be with yourself, honest with yourself, when you can pull something out of the closet instead of like pushing it back in and closing the door and locking it, which is a recipe for disaster anyway, you brush it off and you say, oh, like, hello, old friend. And then you say, it's okay. It's okay that you're here, right? You exist for a reason. All of these things exist for a reason. You know, our emotions exist as a way for our body to tell us what's going on. And so we don't have to operate with them in a negative way. And this might sound really similar to working with your inner child, if you know anything about that. And it's because it totally is. Same thing, right? You say, I'm sorry that happened to you. And then you ask yourself what you need. Does your shadow self need acceptance? Does your inner child need to play? Do you need to be told that you're loved? Figure it out and then give yourself what you need. And this is a process, this takes time. It's not necessarily like, boom, done. Oh, you know, like, sorry, little me. But you give yourself that space to feel safe. For me, journaling and tarot are the easiest ways that I have found personally to figure out like what's up with my subconscious, because it allows me the space to privilege the question. And that's really all you want to do, okay? You don't want to seek an answer, because when you search for an answer, you run the risk of forcing a narrative. The answer itself will come from the right question. And so once you've given yourself what you need, whether that's love, nurturing, a break, the final step of shadow work is making your shadow work for you. You transmute the negative energy into something healthy, and you nurture the hidden talents that you've uncovered, okay? So for example, our anger, right? It can be a strength. It can be one of our greatest strengths. It can be our greatest protection, because it tells us when a boundary is being crossed. It can also be used, transmuted into fuel for change. You know, our addictions, right? They can be transformed into creative passions. When we understand why we are addicted to things, what the root of it is, then with work, and it is work, we can transmute that energy into something productive, something healthier. Because what is an addiction but a misplaced passion? Even if that passion is a passion for escape, right? There's a lot of energy, a lot of brain space and bandwidth that goes into an addiction. And so with work, we can transform it into something else. When you find the source of the fire, and you accept it without judgment, and you learn how to handle it, then you can kind of use it however you want. And that is integration, making the shadow work for you. Now, here's what integration isn't. Integration is not leading with the shadow, okay? This looks like a few different things. Number one, owning unconditionally. So with the negative, ugly aspects, like maybe our codependent behaviors, you know, what I'm not saying is that we all need to walk around owning our codependence, like, hi, I'm Bob and I'm codependent. We don't have to take on those behaviors unconditionally. We just have to accept them without judgment. And there is a difference. So number two, what the shadow is not, or integration is not, identifying with the shadow and only the shadow, right? So sometimes people uncover their shadow and they begin to believe that that's their real self or their true self. Like, oh wow, I do have control issues. Like, I'm a monster. I'll never be able to have a healthy relationship. Or, oh my God, I am depressed and useless and I will always be this way. Or, like, hi, I'm Bob and I'm codependent, right? Sometimes we believe that just because something was hidden beforehand, that everything else before we uncovered that was a lie. Don't sell yourself short. We are everything. We are whole. We are the struggle. We are the power. Don't become complicit in your own pain by furthering a narrative when it's time to let it go. Number three, integration is not building a social identity around the shadow. Sometimes we find a point of connection, oftentimes, honestly, we find a point of connection in our shadow, which can be really intoxicating, okay? Bonding with people over our anxiety and depression, our trauma, our insecurities, you know, our judgments of other people. These things can be very healing if done properly and in small doses. But when we begin to form our entire identity around our pain, you know, when we're leading with the shadow, that's not integration. It's doing a disservice to our whole complete self. It's still an act of denial. And I mean, the work part of the shadow work is showing up as your whole, beautiful human self and taking responsibility for it. So that is all I have for you today. I really hope this video helped you feel a little more comfortable with your shadow and inspired you to dig into the work, because shadow work is the real healing, right? It is digging out, it is daring to get into the scary things about ourselves and make it work. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up down below. Give me a comment. I would love to hear from you. I will be back next week with a brand new video. Thank you so much. Have a great day.